In the kingdom of Velmore, honor died long before the men who swore by it. Once, knights stood beneath banners of gold and crimson. Now, those same banners hang in ruin soaked in blood, and sold to the highest bidder. The wars had ended, but peace never came. It was replaced by spectacle. In the heart of Velmore stands the Citadel of Chains, a colosseum carved from black stone, its sands forever wet with the blood of the fallen. Here, the blood tournament reigns. Every moon, prisoners, deserters, and fallen knights are thrown into the arena to fight not for kings or gods, but for the cheers of those who once feared them. Among them stood one man, his armor stripped, his name forgotten, his eyes still burning with defiance. They called him Alaric the Nameless. But once, he had a title. Once, he had a cause. Once, he was Sir Alaric Thorne, Knight of the Azure Banner, sworn to protect Velmore, and the queen who betrayed him. The guards shove Alaric into a cell. The air smells of rust and despair. Across from him, a dying man whispers, "They say the winner of the tournament is granted freedom." Alaric doesn't answer. He stares at his shackled hands, then at the faint scar on his wrist, shaped like a serpent biting its tail.
Freedom. There is no freedom here. Only those who kill fast and those who die slowly.
That night, he dreams of the Queen's court, of betrayal, of a burning castle, of a blade sliding between his ribs as his brothers turned against him. He wakes in sweat, the screams still echoing. Garen smashes Alaric to the ground. The butcher raises his axe, but Alaric rolls, grabs sand, blinds him, and drives the sword up through his throat. Blood sprays the crowd. The Colosseum erupts in madness. That day, a nameless slave became a legend, and legends are dangerous things in Velmore.
You're the Queen's dog, aren't you? The one she left to rot.
I was a knight once.
Then die like one.
Garen smashes Alaric to the ground. The butcher raises his axe, but Alaric rolls, grabs sand, blinds him, and drives the sword up through his throat. Blood sprays the crowd. The Colosseum erupts in madness. That day, a nameless slave became a legend, and legends are dangerous things in Velmore. Days bled into nights, and nights into fevered dreams. For the prisoners of the arena, time had no meaning, only the rhythm of death, and the sound of the crowd demanding more. Each morning, the sands were raked clean. By dusk, they were red again. Velmore's nobles filled the stands, their laughter echoing over the screams below. The world had grown tired of peace. It needed blood to remember it was alive. Alaric fought not for freedom, but for control of his rage, of his memories, of the thing inside him that whispered, "You were meant for more than this." He became a spectacle. The crowd named him the Pale Knight, for his face was always calm, almost holy as he killed. They said no man could strike with such precision unless he'd already seen death 1,000 times. The more he fought, the more the guards watched him with quiet fear. Whispers began to spread that the nameless knight never slept, that his wounds closed too quickly, that even the crows refused to feed on his fallen enemies. Some said he was cursed. Others said he was chosen. In the shadows of the dungeon, the warden, a blind priest, recited verses to the condemned. Alaric listened, not to the words, but to the cadence. He recognized them not from any holy scripture, but from more chants once whispered by a forgotten brotherhood, the Iron Order, and memory servants. A circle of knights in black steel, a ritual, a promise. When kingdoms rock, we shall rise again from the blood of the worthy. Then darkness. Alaric pressed his hand to the serpent-shaped scar on his wrist. The mark pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. Alaric didn't yet understand, But a seed had been planted. In the kingdom of Velmora, honor died long before the men who swore by it. Once, knights stood beneath banners of gold and crimson. Now, those same banners hang in ruin soaked in blood, and sold to the highest bidder. The wars had ended, but peace never came. It was replaced by spectacle. In the heart of Velmora stands the Citadel of Chains, a colosseum carved from black stone. Its sands forever wet with the blood of the fallen. Here, the blood tournament reigns. Every ruined prisoners, deserters, and fallen knights are thrown into the arena to fight not for kings or gods, but for the cheers of those who once feared them. Among them stood one man, his armor stripped, his name forgotten, his eyes still burning with defiance. They called him Alaric the Nameless. But once, he had a title. Once, he had a cause. Once, he was Sir Alaric Thorne, Knight of the Azure Banner and sworn to protect Velmora, and the Queen who betrayed him. Weeks passed. The tournament grew bloodier, the air thicker. Alaric moved like a machine, silent and relentless. With every kill, the serpent scar darkened, as if drinking the blood spilled in the arena. The crowd no longer cheered for victory. They cheered for him. He had become the symbol they feared to love, the last echo of what knights used to be, and the proof that monsters wear crowns as easily as heroes do. There are moments when a man begins to remember not what he's done, but what he was made to do. On the 41st day of the tournament, Alaric stood over his last opponent, the silent giant whose eyes mirrored his own emptiness. When the man fell, Alaric looked into his lifeless gaze and saw something horrifying. The same serpent mark burned on the man's wrist. He stumbled back. The crowd roared, unaware of what had been revealed. But Alaric understood this was no tournament. It was a summoning. That night, as thunder broke over Velmora, Alaric knelt alone in his cell. For the first time, he prayed not to gods, but to memory. He remembered fire. He remembered the oath. He remembered the Iron Order. And he realized the truth. He had not been thrown into the arena by chance. He had been called there.
Every man bleeds, but some men bleed for something greater than life itself. The Iron Order was awakening, and Alaric's blood was the key.
The rains came to Velmora like a funeral procession. Cold, slow, and endless. The blood tournament paused for 7 days, not out of mercy, but because the arena had flooded with crimson mud. The people called it an omen. The nobles called it an inconvenience. But in the shadows beneath the citadel, the priests of the Iron Order called it the cleansing. While the city slept, Alaric wandered the corridors beneath the arena, guided by a voice he could not name. The torches flickered low, revealing carvings on the walls, a serpent eating its own tail, a knight kneeling before a black sun, a woman crowned in thorns. They were not decorations. They were memories, carved into stone centuries before his birth. He reached a locked door of iron, sealed with wax and symbols of blood. For reasons he did not understand, his hand trembled not from fear, but from recognition. When he touched the seal, it broke apart like dust. Inside lay a chamber untouched by time, an altar of obsidian, bones arranged in circles, and at its center the mirror. The mirror was not made of glass, but of something darker, like still water over black gold. And when Alaric looked into it, he did not see his reflection. He saw himself, in another time, a knight in silver armor, standing among 12 others, their visors down, their swords drawn, their voices chanting a vow. When faith fades and thrones crumble, we shall become the gods of men. It was not a memory. It was a confession. Alaric fell to his knees, gripping his head as whispers filled the chamber, not of demons, but of his own voice, layered 100 times over, each one older than the last. You are not their slave. You are their beginning. The tournament is not punishment. It is rebirth. When he awoke, the mirror was gone. Only the scar on his wrist remained burning like molten iron.
We demand the blood. We demand the sacrifice.
The Chancellor watched from the high balcony as the crowds returned, their hunger renewed. Below, the blood-soaked sands shimmered in the rising sun. The tournament's final stages had begun. Among the surviving fighters, Alaric now stood alone in touch, undefeated and broken. But inside, something had shifted. His heart no longer beat for freedom. It beat in rhythm with the chants of the crowd, with the pulse of the city, with the whispers that told him he was more than mortal. Power is a slow poison. It does not burn. It seeks. That night, in his cell, Alaric discovered a parchment slip beneath his door sealed with a black circle. The message was written in a language he had never learned, yet he understood every word. When the final blade falls, Ascend, the throne awaits. He felt no fear, only clarity. He finally knew why he had survived when others did not, why his scars healed, why the priest spoke as he passed. He was not chosen by chance. He was bred, designed by the Iron Order long before his birth, part of a lineage forged in secrecy and blood. The tournament had never been about entertainment. It was a ritual of selection, a test to awaken the one worthy to lead the Order again. As lightning split the sky, Alaric stepped into the rain-soaked courtyard of the room. He looked up at the banners of the fallen, thousands of them, flapping in the storm like the ghosts of the old world. Each one was a name, a memory, a sacrifice. He realized then that every knight who had ever fought here had bled not for freedom, not for glory, but for him. Destiny is not a gift. It is a chain that grows heavier the longer you carry it. The serpent on his wrist now glowed like fire, and in its reflection, he saw not a prisoner, but a king. Music rises, distant choral voices, the rhythm of war drums. The Iron Order had awakened, and the final duel was coming. Fade to black. The final day of the blood tournament dawned beneath a sky the color of ash. The rain had stopped, but they are still reeked of iron. Fillmore gathered to witness its final spectacle, not knowing it would also witness its end. Thousands filled the stands. The nobles, the beggars, the broken soldiers, all drawn by the promise of one last act of glory. At the center of the arena stood Alaric, the pale knight, the ghost of 1,000 deaths. Across from him, the final challenger, a figure draped in black armor, his face hidden behind an ancient mask shaped like a serpent. He did not speak. He did not bow. He simply waited. The Chancellor's voice thundered over the arena. He spoke of honor, redemption, and sacrifice. But to Alaric, his words were hollow, the same lies that had chained men for centuries. The crowd roared as the horn sounded. The duel began. Steel met steel. Not with fury, but precision, and masters locked in a rhythm older than war itself. Every strike echoed like a heartbeat. Every breath was a prayer. They moved as if guided by the same hand. The serpent mark on Alaric's wrist burned brighter with every clash. And then, the Black Knight struck. A perfect blow. The blade pierced Alaric's side, cutting deep into the skull. For a moment, time stopped. The mark split open, not bleeding, but glowing, spilling light instead of blood. And in that light, Alaric saw everything. He saw the wars that birthed Belmar. He saw the Iron Order rise and fall, again and again, each time wearing a new face and new name. He saw the Chancellor kneeling before the masked knight centuries ago. He saw himself kneeling beside them. The Black Knight was no enemy. He was Alaric's reflection, The other half of what the order had made him forget. Two halves of one soul, forged for one purpose. The duel had never been a battle. It was the final act of an ancient ritual. The crowd screamed as the Black Knight fell. But Alaric did not move. He stood over the body, his sword trembling, his vision fading. The serpent mark on his arm writhed like a living thing. He looked down and saw iron crawling over his skin, spreading across his chest, hardening into armor. His flesh became steel. His heart beat, the echo of the order itself. The Chancellor descended the stairs, his voice trembling with awe. He raised his hands toward Alaric and whispered a single line, the same vow spoken centuries ago, from blood, we rise. And the crowd answered as one, from blood, we rise. In that moment, Alaric understood that truth. The blood tournament was never meant to fight. Victor it was meant to find a vessel. He was not reborn afraid. Then, he was reborn as the Iron Lord of the living, incarnation of the order that had created him. Serpent no longer bit its tail. It had devoured it. The arena was empty. The banners were gone. Only the black throne stood in the center of the sand. On it sat Alaric, now clad in armor that glowed faintly, like dying embers. His eyes were cold, distant, eternal. Below him, the Chancellor knelt, the first of many. Bilmora would rebuild under his rule, but the kingdom would never know peace, because peace was not what he had been made for.
We demand the blood. We demand the sacrifice.
They say the blood tournament ended that day. They say the chains were broken, but chains do not break. They simply change hands. And somewhere, beneath the throne, the serpent still whispers, from blood, we rise.